Welcome to 2022. Brad Restituto here, also known on social media at Brad the Believer. I just wanted to give the Rest Stop, the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, an update. The podcast has been down for a few months, but we are rebooting and ready to ramp up in 2022. Not just yet, but coming soon. So I just wanted to let everybody know that saw some of the old podcasts and what we did during the pandemic for a year. Was fantastic with Spencer the Wiz. But I myself am going to be working on something. Spence has been staying very busy with his projects here in Las Vegas. So if we can manage the time, of course, we're going to continue to work together. But it is not dead. It is not dying. Working on some great things that are going to be a little diverse to the Rest Stop, not just sports based, as was our vision the entire time, but really excited about 2022 and the direction that we're going to be going here for me personally, myself, and the people that are in my circle as well. As the Las Vegas community has really flourished with professional sports. Of course, the Raiders' first full season here with fans. We had our first bowl game, the Las Vegas Bowl, in Allegiant Stadium, which was phenomenal. We know that the basketball community is growing. The talk of Major League Baseball here in Las Vegas, with the Oakland A's possibly moving. So anybody that's a big sports fan knows that in the sports community here in Las Vegas is continuing to grow. We're going to have the Pro Bowl here this year, which is fantastic. So I'm hoping to have some things on the horizon for my sports broadcasting, for sports media, for social media. So I'm really, really excited. So stick with me here. If I don't post any videos on the YouTube channel, Brad the Believer, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Brad the Believer. Add me on Facebook, because we're going to have some great things coming here in this new year. And I will keep you updated on that on the YouTube channel. So please stay tuned. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to bring some great content, some great thought-provoking conversation in all landscapes of life, pop culture, music, society, and especially sports, because that's where my passion lies. That's where the love is. And it's excellent. So to give you a little sports take here, I don't want to keep the channel or this post too long-winded, because we have a lot on the page of just the podcast, which is an hour. So I want to bring you more content this year that is 5, 10, 15 minutes long, so we can get more eyes and more views on it. So I'll briefly talk about what happened in the bowl games yesterday, because now we have a national championship lined up for the college football playoff. The two teams that met in the SEC championship game, the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs, both took care of business yesterday on New Year's Eve. The Bulldogs taking care of Michigan and beating them pretty easily. The defense was fairly dominant in that game. And then Alabama getting past Cincinnati, which didn't surprise many people. But the cream of the crop at the top of the SEC is Georgia and Alabama. It should be for an exciting national championship game next week between those two. So if you bet here in Las Vegas, depending on what side of the fence you were on, the SEC teams, they covered fairly easily in those matchups. We haven't had a podcast the entire season this year. COVID, re-COVID, of course, myself having to step away from the Rest Stop podcast during the year. And for those that don't know that are here locally in Las Vegas, even if you're not, when you come to Las Vegas, I am currently working a job at the Silverton Casino at the very front in the valet. I'm doing valet, but I'm also making moves to do stuff involved in sports. So that's why I'm asking you to stay tuned. But if you just want to come say hello in the community, you want to have a good experience, I am at the Silverton Casino working in the valet area. A bunch of great guys, one of the few places in town where you can valet complimentary. And we really do a great job over there. And we're really trying to do great things at the Silverton as a whole, and really into 2022, making the Silverton a much better place than it's been in the past, and really starting to get people back post-COVID. So we're doing some really good things over there. There's a lot to improve on, but we're working on that every single day. So that's where I'm at personally and professionally at the exact moment. But I've got a lot of ideas and things and conversations and meetings in the works, a lot of great people in my life, and a lot of great conversations to be had to see how we can continue to grow and balance what has to be done to pay the bills, and then also adding some extra to that involves my love of sports. So a lot of great relationships along the way. So let's briefly, as we finish up this little segment of me coming on live and posting to the YouTube channel, Brad the Believer, the Rest Stop, let's talk about week 17 in the NFL, because the playoffs are coming down. We're about to get everything straightened up as there's only 2 more weeks left in the regular season in the NFL. With the extra game, previously this would be the final week of the season, but now that we have the extra game, we will have a week 18 before the playoffs start, and there's still a lot to be secured in the playoffs. And let's start here locally in Las Vegas, as your Las Vegas Raiders will travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts, who have been red hot after starting the season so slow. But the Raiders got a nice win at home at Allegiant Stadium versus the Denver Broncos this past week. In Indianapolis, we know the straw that stirs the drink on their offense is Jonathan Taylor. Of course, the guy is in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year, and in some people's conversation for MVP. The guy has been fantastic for the Indianapolis Colts. Carson Wentz reportedly is out of the COVID protocol and should play in this home game against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I believe the Colts come in. That line was around 6, open 6, got to 6.5, and I think it currently sits at 7 as far as the spread. Indianapolis is 7-point home favorite, and Las Vegas Raiders, here, like I said, here locally, a lot of love for the Raiders, a lot of love across the landscape. The Raiders have had to overcome a lot of adversity this year. Loss of Gruden, their former first-round pick, Henry Ruggs, of course, was involved in a tragic automobile accident that caused the death of one and her dog here locally, and just a lot of off-the-field distractions that had not a lot to do with the Raiders personally until the Ruggs thing happened, and then the Damon Arnett video, another former high pick. So the Raiders have had to have a lot of adversity. Interim coach Rich Bisaccia has stepped in, tried his best here. Raiders fans, of course, not sold that their team is moving in the right direction with all these distractions, that they've lost some games that they should have won and maybe won some games they should have lost. The point is they're still in the mix for a playoff berth. And if you get in the dance, anything's possible. And we've seen the Raiders beat some teams that a lot of people didn't expect them to beat. So this is a really, really important game. And if the Raiders can upset the Colts, who have moved into the conversation as a team that can really make some noise in the AFC playoff picture, it's going to be a big game. And the Raiders are going to have to bring their best. And I think they're going to have to keep that Indianapolis offense off the field, because we know what the Colts like to do running the football, and they can lead that into the play action with Michael Pittman on the outsides, and, of course, Carson Wentz, who can extend plays with his legs as well. So Derek Carr is going to have to play a close to flawless game. They're going to have to play a flawless game as far as securing the football. Of course, that's cliche in NFL, but we know the Raiders have had trouble with the turnovers in the last couple months. So Josh Jacobs is going to have to run hard. He's going to have to secure the ball. Derek Carr is going to have to secure the football. He's going to have to extend plays with his legs. And a lot of Raiders fans like when Marcus Mariota gets in the mix down in the goal line and maybe have some packages with him behind center, which I'm all for. You're at this point in the season, you can't leave any stone unturned. You have to pull out all the stops, and that's getting playmakers the ball in their hands at times. You can't leave people like that on the bench the entire time. If there's a package that can have Mariota in the game and keep the defense off balance, because we know this Indianapolis defense is very solid, then you have to do that. You have to pull out all the stops to try to get a victory here in the home stretch of the season and put yourself in position to make the playoffs. Quickly, we'll go down a few other matchups that have playoff implications. The Philadelphia Eagles, who control their own destiny, will travel to Washington to take on the football team. The football team got blasted by the Dallas Cowboys Sunday Night Football last week. The Philadelphia Eagles had a nice win. This is a divisional matchup. Those divisional matchups are usually close. If Philadelphia is healthy, they are the favorite going in. But I know Coach Ron Rivera, defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio, sour taste in their mouth after getting embarrassed on national TV. I expect Washington, the football team, to have their best effort in this game. And if they get the win, it really opens up everything for that last playoff spot in the NFC. And a team still fighting for one of those playoff spots, the Minnesota Vikings, who could not beat the LA Rams last week, did not have their best effort. Now, your starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins, who statistically has had a solid year, is in COVID protocol. It's been anticipated all year since he's unvaccinated. And now that the virus is spreading even more at this time of year, no Kirk Cousins. The Vikings anticipate starting Sean Mannion, who was a backup for the Vikings, got cut in the offseason by the Seattle Seahawks in favor of Geno Smith, was formerly with the Rams as Jared Goff's backup. I'll tell you right now, knowing the Vikings very well and following Sean Mannion's career, he came out of Oregon State. This is not a guy that's going to be able to lead this team to victory on the road in Lambeau Field. Kellen Mond, the third-round pick for the Vikings, had the practice reps all week as Mannion was on the COVID-19 list and just came off. He really hasn't been able to practice. The Vikings also signed Kyle Sloter, who is a third-string quarterback for them in the preseason a few years ago. I don't necessarily love the move by the Vikings starting Mannion, but I will trust that they're going to have to be creative. And like I said, pulling out all the stops for Las Vegas, the Raiders going to Indianapolis, the Vikings are going to have to do the same thing, traveling to Lambeau Field on primetime Sunday Night Football on NBC. They're going to have to get Kellen Mond some touches. The guy can clearly extend plays with his legs. You're going to want to run some read option with that guy. You can't just rely on Sean Mannion to hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook 40 times and expect to go into Green Bay and get a win. You're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to get Justin Jefferson in some wildcat situations. You're going to have to get Kene and Ngongwu, the speedy returner, the backup running back. You're going to have to get him, Jefferson, Cook, all in the field at once. You're going to have to really be creative and pull out all the stops in this game. It's win or go home. And it's not only that for the Vikings. You've got a lot of guys on that staff that their jobs are on the line here. So you can't throw Sean Mannion out there and have him snap the ball 25 to 30 plays, hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook 40 times, and think you're going to win the game. If they do, and that happens, all credit to Mike Zimmer. But I think you're going to have to really pull out the stops and be creative in this game. You can't expect to have a ball control game and win this game 17 to 13 in Green Bay, even though the weather conditions will be very cold. Green Bay's playing for the number 1 overall seed in the NFC playoffs. And you know how they are at home. Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings are going to have their best game of the season if they want to go on the road in this division game without Kirk Cousins and get the victory. So we'll see how that one lines up. We'll go over one more quick game that has playoff implications. And let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have started playing their best football at this time of year, but the Cincinnati Bengals, they are always game, and they've greatly improved this year. They had the top 5 pick in last year, and Zach Taylor's first year, I believe second year, as the Bengals head coach did not look very promising, but the draft pick of Joe Burrow the year before, his season was shortened with the knee injury. They went and drafted his college teammate, Jamar Chase. He stayed healthy. Burrow stayed healthy. The Cincinnati Bengals offense is greatly improved, and they are in prime position to make the playoffs this year in a really big game for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Bengals. The Bengals trying to win at home and continue to secure their opportunity to win the AFC. I believe it's the AFC North. Don't quote me that off the top of my head, but the AFC North, I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are trying to secure that division crown and position themselves for a home playoff game. The Kansas City Chiefs, as hot as they've been lately, trying to secure the number 1 overall seed. So that's going to be a fantastic game, and we will stay tuned for that. We're almost at 14 minutes here. I didn't want to make this broadcast too long. I just wanted to inform everybody that's been supporting me along the way. Thank you very much. We've got some fantastic things in store for 2022. So please stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter at Brad the Believer, Brad Restituto on Facebook, Brad the Believer on Instagram. Please support and like the YouTube channel, Brad the Believer. And of course, the Rest Stop podcasts are on there. You can go and check out those previous podcasts. And also stay tuned on the YouTube channel to see what's coming next for Brad Restituto, the Rest Stop, and Brad the Believer. Happy New Year for everybody out there. It's going to be a fantastic year. I know we're still trying to get past some of this COVID stuff, but continue to do your part in your community by staying hygienic. If you need to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. And of course, gathering in large crowds, close contact is not an ideal situation. So everybody stay safe to a fantastic 2022. Love you guys. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.